Okay, so we are going to be talking today and tomorrow about literal equations. Okay. A literal equation is an equation. Crazy. Do you forget it? Okay. A literal equation is an equation with two or more variables. Okay, so maybe we have an equation with an x and a y. Or maybe we have an equation with an a and a w and an L. Or maybe we have an equation with an A and a B and an H. Did he sneeze? Now, to be more specific, okay, a formula is a special type of literal equation that shows how one variable is related to another. Okay, so I kind of was mentioning some like area equals length times width. That would be an example of a formula. It's a type of literal equation, but there's a relationship that has a little bit more meaning to it, right?
Mine better.
Hey, when I saw you yesterday, you weren't running.
Huh?
I got a question.
Were you walking?
He saw it.
He
saw it. It's top of the hill.
Yeah, because we can walk to the cars.
Yeah, but if you're running.
Hey, I play sports.
I play football.
Okay, who beat you?
Huh? Steven, Noah, and Ryan.
Okay. That can't happen today.
I'll try.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, why aren't you playing football? Why?
Okay, so we're gonna start out with some examples just involving X and Y. So I want to go to page 25. I don't think you actually have to flip. I don't think he has to flip the page. Okay, so we're gonna look at number 1. And it says solve the literal equation for Y. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna highlight Y, and I want to get Y. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to get Y by itself. Okay. So I need to do operations in order to get Y all by itself. What would I need to be dividing? How is that 2x tied to Y?
Y is being subtracted.
Okay, so 2x is being subtracted from Y, which means if I want to undo that minus 2x, what operation are we going to have to do? Okay, so we need to add 2x to both sides. So now we have Y equals 15 plus 2x.
What?
Okay. I understand that some of you are bothered by this, so let's talk about it. Okay. We want y by itself, but on the left side, I have y minus 2x. Well, how do we undo subtraction? We use addition. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Minus 2x plus 2x. Cancel out. And over here I have 15 plus 2x. Now, these are not like terms. I can't squish them together to be one thing. So we write it as 15 plus 2x.
What's up, the answer?
That is the answer.
Oh,
What's-
that's gonna confuse.
We solved for what?
Oh.
We are getting y by itself. We want y equals. Okay.
That's gonna confuse.
All right. So let's do some more examples so that we can unconfuse you. Okay. We're going to look at number 3. I think you're going to be okay by the end. I want you to identify where y is. So maybe you circle it, maybe you highlight it. I don't know what you want to do, but identify it in number 3. Okay. Now, which number do we need to move first from this right side to get y by itself, Kyron?
The 8.
Okay, let's talk about why the 8 needs to move first compared to the 5. Okay, let's just pretend we only had one thing over here. Okay, if we had the equation, if we had the equation 15 equals 8 plus 5y, we know that we would need to subtract 8 before we could divide by the 5 because it is the furthest away from y. Okay, the same thing is going to still happen here. So in order to get y by itself, we first need to get rid of the 8. How are we going to move it? Okay, since it's a positive 8, we are going to need to subtract it to both sides. Okay, now we're going to cancel out here. Over here, my 5x needs to stay as a 5x, but now I have a minus 2 minus 8. These are canceled and I'm only left with 5y. Now, in order to get y by itself, now that 5 is tied to y through, everyone, multiplication. So we need to undo it by dividing both sides by 5. Now notice how we need to divide all of both sides by 5. Okay. So 5x divided by 5 minus 10 divided by 5 equals y.
Oh, yeah.
Both sides get divided. Okay. Connor, is this as scary as you thought? Yeah, okay. Okay, my goal is to help you out here. I want to see what you and your elbow partner can do to get number 5. If you get it wrong, it's okay. You're doing math in pencil. You can fix mistakes.
I'm carrying the order.
So
So what's the coefficient of y?
If there's not like a number.
Finish.
Oh.
Why is there a hole?
Here, why is there a hole?
Why is there a hole here?
You just get. That's how you ask. How did you get that?
All right, let's talk about this together. What did you do first? All right, I like that move. Drew subtracted 3x from both sides. So she now has minus y equals minus 4 minus 3x. Please look at your work and see if you remembered to keep this minus attached to the y.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what does this mean? What's my coefficient for y?
Negative.
This is essentially negative 1y. Negative 1 times y. So how do we get rid of it? We need to divide by negative 1. So your answer should be y equals a positive 4 plus 3x. If that's not what you have, please fix it. Guess what? It's okay if you made a mistake. I gave you a problem that had a little bit of a twist, okay? That negative is easy to miss. All right, we're now gonna come down to problem number 8. DJ. Okay, guys, I can't hear the question. Say that again. Where?
Whenever you're dividing by -1.
Right, so negative 4 divided by negative 1 is gonna give us positive 4. And minus 3x divided by negative 1 will give us plus 3. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we're gonna come down here to number 8.
Please tell me that.
Okay, now we're solving for x.
Oh, wait, isn't it like, let both of them?
What?
So it's like 9x plus 9z. What would you times it by?
So, okay, I see what you're saying. No, they're all clumped together. Okay, so what is different about this problem compared to the 3 problems we just did? And don't tell me we're solving for x instead of y. Henry.
We all are solving for x instead of y, but there's also that extra z attached to the x.
Okay, what else?
There are 3 variables.
There are 3 variables. Okay,
The answer says q equals.
okay, okay.
There's 2 variables instead of 1 on the same side. Or like on the same number.
Okay,
The coefficient has 2 variables.
There's only numbers on one side.
okay. There's something else that's pretty different.
Different numbers.
Variables.
Oh, the equal signs were
Adding variables.
Okay. I have 2 terms.
That's what I said. That's what I was just about to say that.
I'm glad that I read your mind, Brooks. Thank you. I'm sorry. We have 2 terms. Hey, Brooks. Focus. We have two terms with an x. How am I gonna solve for x?
You're gonna solve for y.
We're gonna solve for x. If I'm gonna solve for x equals, I only need one x. So if I have two terms that both have x, what we can do is we can factor out the x. Okay, write it down. Just write it down. Write it down. Okay, just write it down. What I did is I said, okay, both of these terms have an x. So I'm going to rewrite this as a distribution problem. If I distribute x through, I get back to here. Well, watch what I can do now. This set of parentheses is being multiplied to x. So we can divide by this set of parentheses.
Wait, what? Sorry. Wait a minute. Wait, what?
So x equals q over 3 plus 9z. Okay, so calm down. The answer right here. X is by itself, right? Okay, so it's very frustrating to me that you are verbalizing that you're confused, yet instead of like giving me time to explain, you're just talking to your neighbor. Okay, I had two terms that had an x. So I rewrote this right side as the distributive property. I took the x's and I wrote them outside of the parentheses. So instead of 3x, now I have 3. Instead of 9xz, now I have 9z. So I just took the x and wrote it outside of the parentheses. So now, like, I could distribute these back to get to here. What? The only time you need to do it is when you have two terms with the variable you're trying to solve on one side. And you need to get them on the same side. And like, these are not like terms, so I couldn't add them together. Now, if this one had if this was 3xz, we could push them together and we'd be okay.
Since 9x is the same thing as 9x times z, right? Would you just like pull that together and then make 12x times z?
No.
That's what I
No. Okay. Okay, I have some examples that we're gonna do that are on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, so all the examples we've done so far have been like X's and Y's and Z's, okay? Now I'm gonna give you a sheet of paper. These have formulas that we're gonna solve for a variable.
There's 3.
What is?
Okay. Here we go. So this is your sheet of paper. Here in number 1, this is the area for what shape? Thank you, Harry. This is a triangle. We want to solve for h. All right, so how do we get h by itself? What's one thing we can do?
Multiply by 1/2.
I liked what you said the first time.
Divide by 1/2. It's divide by 2. Oh yeah, because you do the
Multiply.
divide.
Okay, dividing by 1/2 is this. Dividing by 1/2 is the same thing as multiplying by. Okay, so you could divide by 1/2, which just means we're gonna multiply by 2/1. So we get 2a equals b8. Kyron, here's my h. How do I get it by itself?
You divide by b.
We could divide by b, since b is being multiplied to h. And now I have h equals 2a divided by b. Okay, if you have a question, now's the time to ask it. Ian?
Over 1 times the pH. You know how it says times 2/1?
Yep, so 1/2 times 2/1, cancel out to be 1. Okay, that's why we did that. Okay, now let's come over here to number 2. How about you do number 2? I'll give you 30 seconds. Guys, it's like the same thing as number 1.
Light work.
You need to explain more.
I challenge you for it to not go again. Okay, 5. Oh. Yes. All right. Eli, what do we do first? Okay, so we're going to divide by 1/3, which is the same thing as multiplying by 3/1. So we have 3v equals bh. People, we are solving for b.
Oh, whoops.
We're solving for b.
I never
Oh.
I know, letters are hard. So in order to get b by itself, we are going to divide by h to get b equals 3v/h. So let this be a lesson to you. Read the directions. All right, let's go over here to number 3. Number 3 and number 4, it looks like that the right side is a big fraction. That's okay. If we have the entire side as a fraction, in order to undo that fraction, what can we do? Yeah, we can multiply by whatever that denominator is. So in this case, we're going to multiply both sides by 2. And look at this, boom, that goes away. And we have 2k equals mv squared. No? I'm waiting. Ellery, how do we get m by itself? Divide by? V squared. Make sure you get that squared in there. So M equals 2K over V squared. Nice.
I'm just kidding. I didn't do any work.
This is a note sheet.
My brain.
All right, so you and your elbow partner, try number 4. 4 is not the same. Please notice, since you have trouble reading, in number 4, we're solving for B. So, okay. Nice. Look at you, you're getting it. Yeah. So your answer is just the rewritten equation. So like Connor, you're not getting like x equals 5. Your answer is just an equation that's rearranged. All right. All right, Ethan, what do we have to do first? We need to multiply both sides by D. So this gets undone and we have duh equals B plus C.
Wait, I don't want 80.
Hey, guess what? DA is the same thing as A times D because multiplication is commutative. DA and AD mean the same thing. Ellery. Sure. Then we minus C. So now we have AD or DA minus C equals B. Connor, this is our answer.
No, it's not. No, my steps here.
Okay. So here's the thing. A lot of you guys got this answer right. So maybe we can stop freaking out now. Yeah.
DA minus C equals the same as A minus C.
Yep. Yep, it is. It is the same thing. All right, we will do this number 5. And then we can start the homework, Allison, okay? All right, let's talk about this one. This is a very important one. Why? Because this is the formula to convert Fahrenheit into Celsius. Well, what if I have Celsius and I want Fahrenheit? Let's rewrite this formula so that we could use it that way. I'm waiting. Kaden, what's the first piece we have to take care of if we want to solve for F? Which is the furthest away from F, the 32 or the 5/9? So the 32 is inside the parentheses, so it's really close. 5/9 is outside the parentheses, okay? So we need to divide by 5/9, which is the same thing as multiplying by 9/5. So 9/5 C equals F minus 32. Okay. Then our last step, now Kaden, we can take care of this 32. So we have 9/5 C plus 32 equals F. So now if you're in anywhere but the United States and they give you a Celsius temperature, you can plug it into here to get your Fahrenheit. And then you would have like, oh, I know what 72 degrees is.
Zero Celsius plus 0 Celsius is 1 Celsius.
So 0 Celsius is
32.
32 degrees. 0 Celsius, like that's like the freezing point. All right.